Hello kids! Good day! I hope you're doing well. Welcome to our English class. I am Mr. Jeyson B. Fuentes and I will be your English teacher for today. I will be with you as you study your Module 1, Lesson 1.3, which is entitled Defining and Identifying Informational Texts. Our learning competency for this video lesson is you are to distinguish the types of informational texts. And our learning objectives are the following. At the end of this lesson, you are expected to first, distinguish and discuss each type of informational text. Second, make an invitation letter for a certain event using a narrative text type and identify the beginning, middle, and end. And third, write a reflection about an argument article. Now, are you ready, kids? Great! Let's start our lesson with our first task. Let us try. Directions. In this part, you are going to review what you have learned in the previous lesson about informational texts. Give an example of the following using cut-out materials from books, magazines, newspapers, and other articles. First, literary nonfiction text. Second, narrative informational text. Third, expository text. Fourth, argument or persuasion text. And fifth, procedural text. Paste your cut-out materials in a bond paper. Note that your answers in this activity may vary. Don't forget to submit your outputs together with your modules. Very good! Let us move on to our next activity. Let us go ahead and discuss the different types of informational text. So, let us study now. Directions. Read the text below with understanding. What is informational text? Text with the primary purpose of expressing information about the arts, sciences, or social studies. These text ranges from newspaper and magazine articles, to digital information, to non-fiction trade books, to textbooks, and reference materials. Specifically, these are the 5 types of informational text: literary non-fiction text, narrative informational text, procedural text, expository text, argument or persuasion text. First, let's talk about literary nonfiction. Includes shorter texts such as personal essays, speeches, opinion pieces, essays about art or literature, biographies, memoirs, journalism, historical, scientific, technical, or economic accounts, including digital sources written for a broad audience, autobiographies, biographies, other narrative nonfiction, informational picture books, and informational poetry often fit into this category. Second type of informational text, the narrative informational text, typically communicates accurate information and has a well-defined beginning, middle, and end. Here's an example. A countryman and the snake. A countryman's son stepped on a snake's tail accidentally. The tail suddenly turned and hit him, so he died. The father was very angry, so he cut off part of the snake's tail. Then, the snake in revenge stung several of the farmer's cattle. It caused him great loss. However, the farmer decided to stop the fight with the snake. He brought food and honey to the mouth of its lair and said to it, "Let's forget and forgive. Perhaps you were right to punish my son and take revenge on my cattle, but surely I was right in trying to revenge him. Now that we are both satisfied, why should not be friends again?" "No, no," said the snake. "Take away your gifts. You can never forget the death of your son, nor I lost my tail. Injuries may be forgiven, but not forgotten." Now, for the third type of informational text, we have procedural texts. Provide step-by-step guidelines that describe how to complete a task. Here's an example. How to make fried rice. These are the ingredients: 2 cloves of garlic, 2 onions cut into small pieces, 1 tablespoon of vegetable oil, a plate of rice, and some salt. And here are the steps to make fried rice. First, pound garlic and 2 pinches of salt. Second, heat vegetable oil on a frying pan. Third, put the pounded garlic and salt. Add onions to the hot vegetable oil. Fry them a while. Fourth, put 1 plate of rice. Fry and mix them around 3 minutes. Fifth, add 2 pinches of salt. Continue frying until the rice is hot enough. Finally, put the fried rice on a plate. Serve with a sunny side up. Fourth, expository text. Utilize various text structures such as description, cause and effect, comparison and contrast, problem and solution, question and answer, and temporal sequence. Here's an example. This invention brings forth a new era that permits the user to drive in complete luxury without the need to focus on the manual control of the automobile. By implementing driverless cars, we can finally control the roadways in a safe and efficient manner. This invention will result in some of the greatest societal growth in human history. And now we're down to our fifth type, argument or persuasion texts. Provide evidence with the intent of influencing the beliefs or actions of the target audience. These texts typically include claims, evidence, and warrants to explain how the evidence is linked to the claims. Writers of persuasion or argument also make appeals. Appeals to the author's credibility, to the audience's needs, or to reason and evidence. Here's an example. Should children be allowed to stay in at break times? A group of children at Willow Tree School feels they should have the right to stay in at break times if they want to. There are some impracticalities regarding such a ridiculous idea, but the foolish children appear not to have considered them. Firstly, the children always have to be supervised, and if there were children inside and outside, this would not be possible. The budget for lunchtime stuff is already being stretched, and there is certainly not enough money to employ extra staff just to satisfy these selfish children. Some of the children are suggesting that the teachers could supervise them if they choose to be indoors at playtime. Are the teachers not working hard enough already? Do they not deserve 50 minutes to reflect in the morning? Do they not need those 15 minutes to prepare for the afternoon? Asking for the teachers to supervise the children is beyond their job description. Everybody knows that fresh air is needed to help the brain function at its best. In a recent study, Oxford University found that children's concentration tripled once they had been outside. If children could stay cooped up inside all day, their concentration would suffer. Of course, some people might say it's unfair to make children go outside on a cold day. However, it has been proven that colds and illness spread in warm conditions, so being outside is beneficial to their health. Plus, they get to run around and get some exercise while being outside. Children need to go outside at break times. They need fresh air and exercise for their health. Teachers need a break to prepare, reflect, and relax. However, the fundamental reason why children cannot stay in at break times is that there is just not enough money to provide supervision. Now, let's enumerate together the different types of informational text: literary nonfiction text, narrative informational text, expository text, argument or persuasion text, and procedural text. Kids, let's move on to our next task. Let us practice. Directions. Discuss the following based on your understanding about informational texts. Question number 1. What are the other features of an informational text? Great! Text ranges from newspaper and magazine articles, to digital information, to nonfiction trade books, to textbooks and reference materials. It can be found in stories alike and much more. Question number 2. How do you recount an event? Very good! We recount an event by reading it carefully and checking the validity of the text in trusted sources. Question number 3. What are the things needed to consider in describing an event? You're correct! In describing an event, the things you should consider first is the truthfulness of the text, because if it is not true and reliable, most likely it is erroneous or invalid. Terrific! Now, let's move on to our next activity. Let us practice more. Directions. Make an invitation letter for a certain event. Use a narrative text type and identify the beginning, middle, and end. Your teacher will use this rubric in checking your invitation letter. 10 points for exemplary, 8 points for proficient, and 5 points for incomplete. Be as creative as you can. Now, let's have another activity. Let us remember. Directions. Discuss the following based on your understanding about informational texts. Question number 1. What is a narrative text? Brilliant! It typically communicates accurate information and has a well-defined beginning, middle, and end. Question number 2. What is the difference between fiction and nonfiction? Yes, both fiction and nonfiction texts differ significantly from each other. Fiction texts are the product of the author's imagination and are either mysterious or magical. On the other hand, nonfiction texts describe the realities of the world in a factual way. For question number 3, what is the difference between expository and argument texts? Very good! The difference between expository texts and text argument or persuasion text is that the former utilize various text structures such as description, cause and effect, comparison and contrast, problem and solution, question and answer, and temporal sequence, while the latter provide evidence with the intent of influencing the beliefs or actions of the target audience. Question number 4. What are the steps in procedural text? Correct! The steps in procedural text must never be overlapped, since these type of text should always start from the most basic step to further complicated ones. Failure to follow the step-by-step process may lead to more trouble, hence affecting the outcome of a specific procedure. Well done! Now, we are on our second to the last activity. Let us assess ourselves. Directions. Read an argument article, then write a reflection about it. Kids, here is the argument article. Coronavirus in the Philippines by Analogy Baldonado and Eva P. Glace. The COVID-19 pandemic have affected the lives of the people, not just in the Philippines, but in the whole world. Many people have shared their sentiments about this event. Some are sad and some are somewhat thankful. People who are sad about this outbreak are those who have problems in food, shelter, and money. They are the poor. These people struggle to just survive a day or two, screams their pain in the government, and asks for help. Some of them are thankful. They are the rich. They are okay with the situation because they have enough food, a shelter of comfort, and enough money to do and spend whatever they want, and are just carefree because they have all the means that makes them live in comfort. Do you think their views and feelings are correct? Write your answers below. Now, use this rubric in completing your reflection. 10 points for exemplary, 8 points for proficient, and 5 points for incomplete. Now, we're down to our last activity. Let us enhance ourselves. Directions. Based on the activities above, what is the most significant type of informational text and why? Use this rubric in completing the activity. Again, 10 points for exemplary, 8 points for proficient, and 5 points for incomplete. Kids, note that your answers in activities let us assess ourselves and let us enhance ourselves may vary. Use what you have learned on our discussion about the different types of informational text. Well done! Now, let us reflect on this. In elaborating various informational text types, bear in mind that each of the following types plays an important role in learning. Kids, before we end this video lesson, remember the different types of informational text: literary nonfiction text, narrative informational text, expository text, argument or persuasion text, and procedural text. Don't forget to submit your outputs in the school through your parents or your guardians. And now, I know that you have already mastered our lesson for today, which is all about defining and identifying informational texts. Again, this is Teacher Jeyson B. Fuentes. Thank you and congratulations, Grade 6 learners. May God bless us all.